Welcome to the DIY Honda Garage channel. The Diagnostic Trouble Code DTC P0460 relates to the fuel level sensor, specifically known as the fuel gauge sending unit, which has been detected as being out of range. This component is responsible for providing accurate fuel level readings to the vehicle's gauge, which informs the driver about how much fuel is left in the tank. If it operates incorrectly, it can lead to a misleading fuel gauge reading, potentially causing the driver to run out of fuel unexpectedly. The fuel gauge sending unit is usually located inside the fuel tank, connected by wiring to the gauge control module. The failure of this sensor may trigger other DTC codes, including P0462 and P0463, which need to be addressed prior to resolving P0460. Thus, careful navigation through the troubleshooting process is necessary to ensure a complete diagnosis of the issue. The fuel level sensor, also referred to as the fuel gauge sending unit, is a pivotal component in the vehicle's fuel system. It measures the fuel level within the tank and sends this information to the gauge control module, which then displays the fuel level on the dashboard for the driver. Typically, this unit is located inside the fuel tank, submerged in the fuel itself to ensure accurate readings. If this unit becomes faulty or its readings are out of the expected range, it will trigger DTC P0460. The gauge control module is the processing unit that interprets the data received from the fuel gauge sending unit and communicates with the vehicle's electronic systems. Therefore, an issue with either of these components or their wiring could result in inaccurate fuel level readings. Several potential issues could be causing DTC P0460. First, a shorted wire in the circuit could lead to incorrect signals being sent to the gauge control module, indicating a faulty sensor. Alternatively, an open wire in the circuit might prevent the signals from being transmitted altogether, leading to the same DTC. A malfunctioning gauge control module could also be at fault. This module processes signals from various sensors, and if it is defective, it may lead to erroneous readings. Lastly, the fuel gauge sending unit itself may be defective, meaning its readings will not reflect the true fuel level, ultimately leading to the triggering of DTC P0460. Identifying which of these potential causes is the root issue is essential for effective troubleshooting. When DTC P0460 is present, several symptoms may manifest in the vehicle. The most apparent symptom is incorrect fuel gauge readings, which may cause the gauge to display a fuel level that does not correlate with the actual amount of fuel in the tank. In certain cases, the gauge may consistently display empty, despite adequate fuel being present. This condition can lead to significant user inconvenience and may even result in the vehicle running out of fuel unexpectedly, as the driver is not informed of the true fuel level. Additionally, intermittent indications of DTCs may occur, suggesting momentary faults that can complicate the diagnosis. These symptoms not only affect the driving experience, but also necessitate prompt attention to avoid further complications. The first step in troubleshooting DTC P0460 involves verifying the problem through the use of the Honda Diagnostic System, HDS. Begin by turning the vehicle's ignition to the on position, which powers the vehicle's electronics without starting the engine. Next, use the HDS to clear the existing diagnostic trouble codes that are stored in the vehicle's system. After performing this action, it's important to wait for approximately 10 seconds, allowing the vehicle's computer systems to reset. Following this waiting period, check for any pending or confirmed DTCs using the HDS. If DTC P0460 appears again, It confirms the issue with the fuel level sensor has duplicated, leading to the next troubleshooting step. If it does not appear, check for poor connections or loose terminals in the wiring that connects the gauge control module and the fuel tank unit. The second troubleshooting step involves inspecting the wiring for potential shorts. Start by turning the vehicle off and then removing the gauge control module from its housing. This step is crucial as it will allow for direct examination of the wiring connections without interference from electronic signals. Disconnect the fuel tank unit's 4P connector and the gauge control module connector A, which has 32 pins. At this point, it is essential to check for continuity between the two designated test points. The test points include the fuel tank unit 4P connector's female terminal, number 2, and the body ground. The expectation is that there should be a resistance of 1 megaohm or more. If this condition is met, it indicates that the fuel gauge plus wire is not shorted, and you may proceed to the next step. If not, repairs must be made to the shorted wire between the gauge control module and the fuel tank unit. Once the continuity of the fuel gauge plus wire has been assessed, the next troubleshooting step is to check for an open wire condition. Begin this step by connecting terminals A and B using a jumper wire. Terminal A pertains to the female terminal number 2 of the disconnected fuel tank unit 4P connector, while terminal B connects to the body ground. This jumper will simulate a normal operating condition where the fuel level sensor would send signals accurately. Again, continuity between the two designated test points must be checked, specifically between gauge control module connector A's number 8 pin and the body ground. The resistance should measure 1.0 ohm or less. If the condition is satisfied, the fuel gauge plus wire is confirmed to be okay, thus allowing for progression to the next troubleshooting step. Failure to meet this resistance means there is an open in the wire that needs to be repaired. For the fourth troubleshooting step, we will be assessing the fuel gauge line for open wire conditions. Start by removing the jumper wire previously used at the fuel tank unit 4P connector. Next, connect terminals A and B using a jumper wire, where terminal A corresponds to female terminal number 4 of the fuel tank unit 4P connector, and terminal B goes to body ground. By doing this, you create a condition to check for continuity properly. Again, continuity must be verified between the designated test points, which are gauge control module connector A's number 9 pin and the body ground. Just like the previous step, the expectation is for the resistance to measure 1.0 ohms or less. If this is confirmed, a fuel gauge wire is functional, allowing advancement to the final troubleshooting step. If not, repairs to the open wire must be executed between the gauge control module and the fuel tank unit. The final troubleshooting step requires testing the fuel gauge sending unit, which is critical for confirming whether the issue lies with this component or the gauge control module. Begin by removing any jumpers installed previously. Now, conduct a comprehensive test on the fuel gauge sending unit to ensure its operation. You will want to evaluate if it is functioning as intended, providing accurate resistance measurements that correspond with varying fuel levels. If the sending unit passes this test, it indicates a problem resides with the gauge control module, leading to the recommendation of replacing this module. Conversely, if the fuel gauge sending unit fails the test, its replacement will be necessary to rectify the inaccurate fuel readings being displayed on the dashboard. After completing the necessary repairs, it is essential to verify that the system is functioning correctly. Start by testing the entirety of the fuel level system again to confirm that all components are responding appropriately to their expected inputs and outputs. Use the Honda Diagnostic System, HDS, to clear any diagnostic trouble codes from the vehicle's memory. Following this, it is crucial to check once more for the presence of any new or lingering DTCs. A successful verification will indicate that DTC P0460 has been resolved, ensuring the fuel gauge is now operating accurately. If any new codes appear, additional troubleshooting will be required to segregate other potential issues that may not have been accounted for during the initial diagnostics. Preventive maintenance plays a crucial role in ensuring that the fuel level sensor and related components function properly over time. Regular inspections of the fuel gauge sending unit and gauge control module, along with associated wiring, can help to identify issues before they escalate into more significant failures. Ensuring that connections are secure and free from corrosion or other forms of degradation is key to maintaining system integrity. Additionally, periodically testing the fuel gauge's accuracy can alert you to potential failures. Keeping track of these factors will not only enhance the longevity of components, but will also ensure you are informed of your vehicle's fuel status without unexpected surprises. In conclusion, DTC P0460 is critical to the proper functioning of your Honda Accord's fuel level detection system. It requires systematic troubleshooting, addressing potential causes, which range from shorts and opens in wiring to faulty components such as the fuel gauge sending unit or gauge control module. Understanding this code and its implications is vital for maintaining responsive and accurate fuel level readings, which are essential for driving safety. Implementing preventive care measures will aid in prolonging the lifespan of these components and ensuring that they operate effectively. Always remember that active monitoring and maintenance can drastically reduce unforeseen issues and enhance the overall reliability of your vehicle. Please like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.